Was the 2025 MVP race actually the worst MVP race ever? This year we kept hearing, this is the best MVP race in years, maybe even the best we've seen. But honestly, I think this might be the worst or weakest MVP race I've ever seen. And I'm not trying to follow the trend of the NBA media of constantly criticizing the league, and I'm not trying to be a contrarian. The issue is, this year, neither candidate seems to have the full support from the fans or the media. We could have Nikola Jokic winning his 4th MVP, and Shai Alexander, who ultimately won it. But both faced major criticism, and they both hurt their cases throughout the year. So no matter who won, I feel like the outcome was going to leave a lot of people dissatisfied. So let's break down why this MVP race has been so controversial, and why people thought one of these two should have won, and why neither candidate had been able to avoid the spotlight for all the wrong reasons. First off, there's no denying, Jokic and Shai had incredible seasons, which is why they were clear frontrunners for the MVP. Jokic averaged a triple-double with 30 points, 13 rebounds, and 10 assists, all while shooting an impressive 41.5% from 3. He even had historic performances, like recording the NBA's first ever 30-20-20 game, and just the third 60-point triple-double in league history. For a while, he dragged the struggling Nuggets team to as high as the 2nd seed, before they eventually slipped to 5th, as the rest of the Nuggets roster failed to recapture their championship form. And on the other side, Shai put up 33 points, 6 rebounds, and 5 assists per game, while ranking 2nd in the league in steals. He led the youngest, most inexperienced team in the NBA, OKC, to the top of the Western Conference, and even led them to the best point differential in league history, with multiple 50-point games and elite two-way play. He was the engine behind what could have been one of the greatest regular season teams ever. But now we got all the positive shit out the way, let's talk about why this might be the worst MVP race ever. We're looking at a so-called free throw merchant and an overhyped center in an era where fans are constantly complaining about how the NBA is getting soft. And these two are basically the poster children for that movement. Shai is drawing some of the most questionable foul calls I've ever seen. Seriously, you breathe near him and he gets 2 shots.
About this matchup, 2 young studs in the association.
Year-old out of Minneapolis, Minnesota. Jake Gilgis is Minnesota.
Every night he's got social media in flames, and not for the right reasons. And then there's Jokic, possibly the softest big man of this era, who seems to treat every missed shot like a personal injustice that must be avenged by yelling at the official. Half the time he's just throwing up shit, hoping for a whistle. But here's the wild part, Thunder and Nuggets fans will fight online like their lives depend on it, swearing these two aren't foul merchants.
Fuck this guy! This motherfucker right here. You wanna go? Okay, let's go! He said, okay. Okay, let's go! All right, you know what? Oh no, there ain't gonna be no rounds, asshole. It's gonna be a fucking street fight.
And aren't even near the top of the three-throw merchant leaderboard. And they're technically right. But if you actually watch the games, it's clear Shai and Jokic seem to get a perfectly timed whistle. The one that stops a run, flips momentum, or bails them out in a broken possession. And this isn't some prime James Harden stuff, where he's dropping 50 while getting some help at the charity stripe. These guys are doing it for 25 or 30 point nights, and we're just supposed to be impressed. After every game, it's the same routine. Fans screaming online that it's Shai and the refs versus whatever NBA team showed up, or Jokic and the refs versus whatever team he just faced. And I don't think I've seen a more even side of hate for both sides of an MVP race. But in their defense, they are crafty at getting to the line, and at times, you have to appreciate how they get defenders in difficult situations, especially if you listen to players and NBA greats speak on that type of play.
You can see the strides he's taken every year, and the physicality is twofold. So one, he has the chicken wing, he has the bumps, he has that down pat. But as a defender, you can't just use full physicality on him, because just as well as he can feel and deliver, he can feel the physicality and then draw a foul. When you're trying to body up, when you're trying to prevent him from doing things, you bump him a little too hard and boom, he's at the line, which some people call foul baiting, and some people might say it's unethical hoops. But if anybody was as good at him as him at doing it, you do it. Like it's a skill more than anything.
He rides the line like a Harden, this is a skill. If you're physical, he can use that against you. If you're unphysical, he uses that against you. If he can't get to a spot, he draws a foul. If you play off him, he can shoot the 3. If you play him tight, he's in the gaps. Like, he's got a counter for almost everything other than let's hit him.
But when we start comparing Shai and Jokic directly, especially their impact on their own teams, that's where things get messy. On one side, you've got the league's top scorer, leading the youngest team in the NBA, somehow running the West. But here's the twist. OKC might also have one of the deepest teams in the league. Anytime someone's out, another guy steps up. Even when Shai misses a game, they still win. Like a lot. So it raises the question, do they even need him playing at an MVP level to succeed? Like, if your team is so elite, with or without you, how valuable are you really? Even in the first round of the playoffs, Shai wasn't putting up anything insane in the stat line department, and they still wiped the floor with Shai and the Grizzlies. And yeah, I know the playoffs don't or shouldn't affect the outcome of the MVP race, but let's be real, deep down, it does influence how we see things. Like imagine if Shai or Jokic got swept in the first round. People would be saying they shouldn't even be in the MVP conversation anymore. Plus the playoffs really expose how MVP candidates perform under pressure, and you get to see both their strengths and weaknesses on full display.
Now, back to our regular scheduled programming.
And Shai has somehow figured out how to get the refs to call every foul against him, even the really minimal ones. But when OKC and Shai play defense, the refs let them get away with the exact same kind of contact that just got called as a foul on the opposing team. And at times, it really looks like the refs are favoring OKC and Shai.
I'm disgusted by the way that game was officiated. The level of disrespect was above and beyond. They have a guy fall down and trip on his own teammate's foot. They review us for a hostile act. They throw an elbow to our chest, neck area. I ask for him, at least take a look at it, right? Just show us the respect to take a look at it, okay? No one would take a look at it, okay? I tried to have a conversation with official. The official was arguing with Mark. I say his name one time, and he screams at me and tells me that's enough. The least that they could do is get the same respect that everybody else in this league gets and get refereed the same way that everybody else in this league gets reffed.
Now with Jokic, it's the opposite. His team won a championship just 2 years ago, and somehow they now look washed, even though the starting five is basically the same. Sure, Jokic does it all, scores, rebounds, passes, but is Jokic really making his teammates better and playing winning basketball with his playstyle? When you watch the Nuggets play, he's become so central to their system that if the ball doesn't touch his hands, the other four players look lost. The issue is, the ball stops with Jokic. He'll just stand there at the elbow or at the top of the arc, waiting for a cutter, so he can make one of his wild assists. But those don't always work out, and by then, 10 seconds have burned off the shot clock, and it turns into a broken possession, ending in a contested shot. And that's Jokic's problem. His game hasn't really evolved. Sure, he's now a threat from three, but that doesn't help much since he's a center. He should be the one cutting to the basket and getting points in the paint. And if that's not there, then he kicks it out to the shooters. But instead, he just stands there, waving for movement, wasting time. He should be driving to the basket, forcing the defense to collapse, then using his elite passing to find open teammates. His lack of aggression hurts his team. The Nuggets play their best when Jokic is playing like a true big man, setting screens, rolling hard, and popping out for shots. Not when he's just stationary, trying to orchestrate everything. And those historic triple-doubles? They came in losses, kind of helping the point I just made. And one of those historic losses was a loss to the Wizards, the worst team in the NBA. Like, this Wizards team is going to go down as one of the worst teams in history, and he lost to them. In that situation, an MVP should be able to figure out how they need to impact the game to win, not just to fill the stat sheet. And to top it off, Jokic's coach, Mike Malone, got fired. I don't think I've ever seen an MVP candidate lose his coach. That's not a great look.
They do it at an elite level. And then Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, he showed why he's the MVP. And then Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, he showed why he's the MVP.
So am I happy about Shai winning? Yes. Not because he's perfect, but because OKC's team success backs his MVP case. And his scoring this season has been some of the best. And you can trust Shai in clutch situations. He's the kind of guy you can give the ball to when the game is in the balance and either team can still win. In the third and fourth quarter, Shai can score 6 straight points, get your best defender or best player in foul trouble and get them off the floor. And can hit the game winner without needing a crazy drawn out play or 5 passes to get open or his teammates open like Jokic does. Shai can bring up the ball and go to work, hitting a 3, a mid-range shot, or obviously getting a foul call to either tie the game, extend the lead, or win it. Like imagine it's crunch time in a game and you have Jokic or Shai on the bench. I would think everyone's picking Shai because he can ISO and get the game-winning shot. Plus Shai has a better turnover rate and plus minus at the end of games compared to Jokic. Meanwhile, Jokic, for all the insane stat lines, still struggles on defense and gets exposed in big moments on that end. Like how did Shai average 1 block this season and Jokic average 0.6? Your center is usually your defensive anchor. And I get people will say, well, Shai is a point guard / shooting guard and Jokic averaged more assists than Shai. But I would say that Shai's role on his team isn't to be a facilitator. It's to be a scorer and be a two-way player. And in that role, he helped his team be the best team in the West and have the best record in the NBA. And led his team to be one of the best regular season teams we've ever seen. Meanwhile, Jokic's team doesn't need him to be an offensively dedicated player as much as they need him to be a defensively dedicated player, as the Nuggets were one of the worst defensive teams this season. But he doesn't put nearly enough effort on that end, and that hurts his team. Like imagine if Jokic actually committed to blocking shots and playing solid defense, then I'd understand the hype around him being one of the greatest centers ever. And yeah, he rebounds a lot, but half the time it's because he's standing in the paint while his teammates box out. There's no hustle to his rebounds, and in games you see some of the most easily given up offensive rebounds against the Nuggets because because of Jokic's lack of hustle. Plus, his offensive skill set, as unique as it is, doesn't translate to those final second perimeter ISO moments. You're not giving him the ball at the top of the key and expecting a step back three to seal the game. And let's be honest, we've seen guys put up historic numbers and still not win the MVP. Luka dragged the Mavs to the finals last year, and Luka had a historic scoring season, to the level of Michael Jordan, even putting up a 70-point game and got nothing because Jokic won. And if you're looking at his triple doubles, Westbrook averaged a triple double for multiple seasons and only got one MVP. And LeBron should have had what, like 8 by now? Sometimes being great just isn't enough. And this year, Jokic might be the latest example of that. I'm just glad that when Adam Silver shook Shai's hand, he didn't flop and call for a foul.
SGA is here. Give it up for SGA. Hell yeah, bro. And now everybody sitting around him is in foul trouble.